Have you ever looked at your house and thought of it as more than just walls and a roof? Have you ever thought of it as a launch pad for passive investment? Most people don't. But what if the key to you building a massive amount of wealth is hiding in plain sight? And it's even written on a piece of paper that you already own. You're listening to the Real Estate FastPass, where we make wealth building simple, strategic, and fast. My name is Jimmy Vreeland. I'm your host, investor, and your guide through the systems that actually make building wealth possible. Today on the show, we're diving into a powerful question. Why does real estate work so well as a wealth building vehicle in America, but real estate fails to deliver the same results around the world? So to help unpack that, I'm joined by my co-host Jake, and we're talking about a book that changed the way I looked, it changed the way I see real estate, and it changed the way of how I thought wealth should be built. The name of this book is called The Mystery of Capital by Hernando de Soto. So in this episode, you can look forward to learning three things. While title law is the unsung hero of wealth creation, how our legal system actually turns brick and mortar into a thing called capital, what you can do today to leverage the capital you've already amassed to build even more wealth. And there's something wild we are going to unpack. Why owning a home in Guatemala doesn't mean the same thing as owning a home in Missouri, and how the differences shape the destinies of both countries and the citizens of those countries. So if you're ready to stop sitting on the sidelines and start using the tools that actually build wealth, then stick around for this episode of the Real Estate Fast Pass. All righty, welcome back to the Real Estate Fast Pass podcast. Jake, today we are going to talk about one of my favorite concepts, one of my favorite books, and then quite frankly, if you want to be a passive real estate investor, you have to understand this concept. Quite frankly, if you want to appreciate this country, you have to understand this concept. So, Jake, today we are going to talk about the mystery of capital.
Okay, I like mysteries.
Okay, so a lot of people, like let's say we're a hippie Marxist. Hippie Marxist is going to say the Western world is as wealthy as it is because of colonialism, because we've exploited people, we've manipulated people, but they don't talk about any of the great things that have got produced. And they're, quite frankly, wrong, but that's outside the scope of this podcast.
Yeah.
But do you want to know why the West is so wealthy?
Absolutely.
Okay, the West is the only place that has very good title and contract law. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've heard of that. We inherited that from Great Britain.
Yes. So it's called English common law. English common law is a legal system originating in medieval England, characterized by its reliance on case law and judicial precedent rather than codified statutes. It developed from practices of the King's Court found in the Norman Conquest, gradually replacing local laws with a more unified system. The principle of stare decisis, or stand by things decided, is central, requiring courts to follow earlier decisions when dealing with similar cases. So the main part of it is that the main important thing to take from that, it is a unified system. What has come out of English common law is called title law. And now the AI overview of title law is this. In real estate, title refers to the legal concept of ownership, encompassing all rights and responsibilities associated with possessing a property. It's not a physical document, but rather a legal standing of ownership. Title is often associated with real estate, but it can also apply to other types of property. So, especially in the third world, if you built a house and own a house, you are not able to show legal title to said house.
What do you mean you're not able to show?
Like, let's say I name a third world country.
Yeah, okay, so like I'm super familiar with Guatemala. I did a couple like service trips there.
Yeah.
And the mountains of Guatemala, they just start stacking cinder blocks, and it's a pretty poor home, but it's their home. They can't show title for that.
Yeah, this is a great example because we're going to talk about a lot of things that happens because they can't do that. So, one, did you build houses? Like, I've been to Mexico to build houses.
Yeah. So we're participating in that, like cinder block, tin roof. Yeah.
Before you started building, was it clear that you had title to that plot of land?
I mean, it's like they're just like, hey, here's where we're going to build it.
Right.
Okay, it's kind of like good faith.
Yeah. Now, once you were done building the house and you gave the keys or whatever you gave to the people in Guatemala, did they then have a piece of paper that represented that house?
I doubt it.
Okay. Now, that is the great thing about English common law, title law, and what we have in the United States. It's a concept called capital. The brick and mortar of that house in Guatemala is not capital. Right. But my house, the brick and mortar of my house in the middle of Missouri, is capital. Why?
I mean, because we say it does, and we have a paper trail that everybody agrees is like
Because we live in
fiat,
a
basically.
Yeah, we live fiat, exactly. We live in a legal system where there is so much trust
Uh-huh.
in this society that I can say, hey, Jake, look at this piece of paper. This represents my house. And that I can then sell you that piece of paper, which then means I sold you my house.
Right.
That is only in the Western world.
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
Now
There's
let's
a lot of consequences to that. Like, I mean,
let's
just like you're
talk
saying.
about some of the consequences. Is since I have this piece of paper and I could go sell this to really anybody in the United States and anybody willing to use American laws, the demand for my house just exploded.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Right.
Your guy in Guatemala cannot sell me his house because I don't know what I'm buying. And now when it comes to wealth production, here's where it's really, really critical is so we have a society where we have a bunch of assets and then we have a bunch of paper representing that assets.
Yeah.
And then we could trade fiat dollars for those pieces of paper to get title to property.
Right. Right.
And it's a miracle. The entire society just takes it as a given that this piece of paper means you own something.
Right. Yeah.
And what's even more important is this. So I did this. This is how I started my business. I took the title to my house to a bank and I said, hey, Mr. Bank, this house is worth, told me my house is worth $700,000. I owe $400,000 on it. I have $300,000 in equity. Will you loan me $250,000 based off that paper equity that I have? And what did the banker say?
Absolutely.
And then I took that money and I started my business because I had access to the miracle of capital. Now, your guy in Guatemala, can he do that?
Nope.
Where is most starter capital for most small businesses come from in this country?
I mean, I'm guessing by your story, the collateral of the house.
Home equity. Home equity is 2/3 of every American's net worth.
Wow.
So when you have the hippie Marxists saying that we are this exploitive society, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They have a complete disrespect for the last 500 to 700 years of what our society went through to create title law and common law. And it's based off an insane amount of trust.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, it's like, who's to say this is worth? It's versus our word. We just codified it, but everybody says that this piece of paper means this. And we trust the local county, the title offices in these towns and say, hey, yeah, great, trade it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a system, there's a process that we've all agreed to as rational human beings where, an appraiser can't just say the house is worth this. He has to justify it.
Yeah, it's got
People just can't, out of the blue say this is worth something and justify it.
So when you say the 500 to 700 years, you're talking about, in a sense, the whole Western tradition that's developed over these centuries. Yeah.
Yeah. And because people have been able to put their hard-earned sweat and labor.
Yeah.
They take their hard-earned sweat and labor, and they build an asset, and then they can liquidate that asset either by selling it or borrowing against it. That only happens here.
Yeah. Yeah. Or people that have adopted this system.
The problem, and so in this book, Mystery of Capital, who's it written by? It is written by a man named Hernando de Soto, but he does a survey of the rest of the world, and he explains the reason. I mean, the title of the book is Mystery of Capital: Why Capitalism Triumphs in the West and Fails Everywhere Else. I spent 3 deployments trying to build a democracy in a Western-style country in the Middle East, and large argument to say, hey, it kind of failed.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, we're trying to build a democracy here. These people don't understand democracy. They don't have a 700-year tradition of democracy. It doesn't make any sense. And guess what else they didn't have in Iraq? Title law. So let's say you built your house in Afghanistan. You really don't have much to lose if you wanted to go fight and pick a fight with another tribe or another country, because you'll just pick up and build more mortar.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how our country started. I mean, people would just go out west.
No, it's not.
Okay.
There was title law to begin with. Like, do you know what homesteading is? So the settlers would go out and they would have to create value in the land to make it their own. So if some English baron back in the day came to the New World and said, hey, in 1600, I put this stake down, this is my house, and they didn't cultivate the land, they didn't get to keep the house or the land. They had to cultivate it. They had to homestead it.
Okay.
They had to create some type of value on that land to make it theirs. But there was always, now there was disputes about who owned the land, but it was always very clear someone owned the land. Someone had title to the land.
Right. So I guess that's what I was getting at. Like, you know, when like they had like the Homestead Act or what have you, and people would go out to Kansas and like just build their log cabin with, you know, trees they hauled from the river bank. That's them improving the land. And of course they have to, you know, cultivate it, farm the land. But then they are given like a deed to that land.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise movie called Far and Away, where they're all, I think they were called homesteaders, where there was a land rush, right? They were all staking their claim to take title to the land. Accredited investors, if you're looking for quality real estate to put in your portfolio that is pushing 30 to 40% in annual returns, well, I'm glad you're watching this ad, because I bring my investors about 400 of those deals every year, and all the due diligence is already completed. We also have all the lending lined up, and we have the construction and property management already set and ready to go. And it's all in-house, all done start to finish by my team. All you got to do is review the deal, write the check, show up at closing, and you're done. And the best part is there's no equity splits. You own the asset 100%. My team gets paid to do the things you were already going to pay for anyway, like having someone find the deal, fix up the deal, and manage the house for the long term or offload the deal for a flip. So if you want to invest in real estate and you want to build a portfolio on autopilot, or maybe just flip a few houses with a vertically integrated team doing all the work for you, A to Z, click the link. There's more information on how this works on the next page, and the option to book a call with us to discuss working together. But it was never, so there were instances of squatting. And then there would be at least you could have a legal dispute about squatters. Without a legal process, guess what happened to squatters?
They got the land?
No, they just go get murdered by someone else who wanted the land.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. If you don't have a good title system, guess who generally gets most of the land? And guess who gets most of the houses?
Might makes right in that case.
Yeah, whoever's willing to be most violent. So that's why you have mob bosses in a lot of third world countries who are like, oh, wait, this is my house. No, it's not. You can pay me and then you can keep your house. And I'll also protect you from other people trying to take your house. But where people in the West can just put their head down and go to work knowing they're going to be rewarded.
Yeah.
Now, is there great wealth discrepancy in the West? Absolutely. There's major extremes. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. But I do know there's a huge concentration of wealth in communist countries too, except they're just much poorer than us.
Yeah. So the difference is that, like, while there's discrepancy, still the standard of living, quality of life in the United States is way higher. So there is a concentration of wealth in the United States. So even people at the lower end of the economic spectrum have benefited from this title and contract law, because they can leave for a week and go on vacation, or even just during the day to go to work.
Yeah. And then since we have title law, then we can also have a banking system. And I know bankers get a bad rap in this country, but they're the people who allow us to liquidate all of our capital. So, I mean, I think the banking system, I don't agree with every part of it, but the fact that we can have it, it's somewhat of a miracle.
Yeah. Like I said, it's based on a whole heck of a lot of trust.
Yeah. And now, why did it raise in the West? You could probably make a pretty solid argument that Christianity says there's inherent dignity to every human being. So yeah, it makes sense that I can trust every human being to respect my capital. But that's probably the subject of another podcast.
Yeah. So when you said other consequences, I mean, the one that comes immediately to mind is it doesn't even make sense to go and rehab another house, putting value into it if like the title and contract law is not clear. That someone can't just say, hey, whoa, I built that house. And so all the work that you just put into it, thank you very much. And like, see you later. That whole, I guess, line of business of creating value, that goes away immediately.
Yeah. I mean, there's no incentive. If someone can't protect their property, there's no incentive to develop that property. And that happens all over the world.
Where people just abandon.
Well, yeah, they just
abandon
They're not, human beings react to incentive. They're not incentivized to keep their house, to keep building on it, or to cultivate it, or to build a better house or a bigger house, or Because if the strong man's just going to come by and steal it
Sure.
once it gets big enough, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, what does this have to do with a passive real estate investor? Here's what I think it has to do with that: is understand the water you're swimming in. Like, we have it so good here, we don't even know why it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's totally true.
So, one, be very grateful for the phenomenal legal system and the phenomenal title law we have, but then take advantage of it. If you have equity in a house, maybe use that equity to do either start a business or buy other houses. Get more velocity on your capital. And then understand you live in a capitalist system where you can experience the miracle of capital, where you can work hard, build something, and then trade it, and then make sure you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone was just reminding me the other day about that wealth comes from trading. Like the whole guy that takes the paper clip and he trades that for the pen, and then takes the pen and he trades it for a kitchen tool, takes the kitchen tool and trades it for the whatever, all the way up.
Yeah, there's that YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the same principle, just like a little more simple.
No, it's the same principle with adding a little gasoline to it. Yeah. So once in that trading thing, you get to the point where you have an investable asset, then you go to a banker. Let's say you got to the point where you traded for a car.
Right.
Then you go to that banker and refinance the car and get cash and maybe buy another car. And now you have 2 cars to trade. And then maybe finally you're able to trade into a house. Then you go to the banker and say, hey, Mr. Banker, give me a line of credit on that house. And now you have cash to go buy another house, to go trade 2 houses instead of 1. Mm-hmm. So it's a leverage amplifies your return. It's a force multiplier.
Right. So when you say understand the water you're swimming in.
And understand, if you want to build wealth, you're going to have to use this title system.
Right. You're going to have to leverage your cash.
Yeah. And if you think you just can work hard and grow wealthy with just after-tax dollars, I don't think you can.
Right.
Like, you're going to have to learn to responsibly use leverage and use this title system.
So when you say that the United States was a country founded by real estate investors for real estate investors, is that part of this?
Well, yeah.
They knew what they were doing. They understood the value of.
Some of them had seen the rest of the world and understand why the rest of the world lives in poverty. And they're like, whoa, I don't want to do that. We better have a really comprehensive legal system.
Yeah. I mean, Alexander Hamilton, that's like his story. He grew up in a poor Caribbean island, right?
Yeah. And it's very easy to understand why. And like, sure, has the West done everything right? No, but they've got a lot right, and they've created a system where everybody's trying to get into that can flourish. Yeah. And when I hear somebody say that the West has built up so much wealth by some nefarious thing, I'm like, dude, you don't understand what you're talking about. You have no idea what it took to build a title law system. You have no idea the fact that your parents can go to a bank and say, hey, I have this piece of capital. Can I trade it?
Yeah, it's like easy to take all that for granted, for sure.
And that's what I see people doing. But so the quick story in my investing journey, once I understood the mystery of capital, I was like, it's kind of like my story when I understood what the founding fathers did. I was like, cool, I got to get as much of this as I possibly can. And so whether you want to read the mystery of capital for philosophical, political reasons, as an investor, you got to understand it. And you got to understand what a blessing it is. And you got to understand how to responsibly use it if you want to grow your wealth.
That goes back to that investor mindset that we're constantly cultivating. Yeah. So is there practical stuff that people need to know about title and contract law, or does it just come back to
no, it's like a goldfish in water. It is so ingrained into our economic system, you don't even know what you're doing when you're using it.
Yeah.
Like anybody, you bought a car, you bought that podcast van, you had to take title to the car, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You did it, but you didn't even understand why.
Yeah. I mean, the cynical part of myself just says, well, that's because Missouri wants to take their tax on the transaction.
But maybe you should be taxed for that. Yeah, you probably should be taxed for them to protect your asset.
Right. Yeah. No, now I'm more appreciating the asset and the value of paying that tax, because now no one can come and take my podcast bus. Or even if I do, I don't have to use force of arms to get it back.
And this also comes down to being a responsible saver and a responsible investor. You take your active income, you get cash, and you turn that into assets. Yeah. And then your assets are protected by the legal system, but then you can also leverage and trade those assets. Because if you can't trade assets, they're not worth that much.
If you can't trade assets, they're not worth that much.
Yeah. So like the fact that what we do, we sell most of our assets to out-of-state buyers.
Yeah.
With before the internet, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So why has American real estate grown in value? A big part of it is because we can sell it to foreign investors.
Yeah.
Like, why do all the wealthy people in China, why are they all buying up American real estate?
Because it's worth a lot.
Because it's a hard asset protected by a non-corrupt legal system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where the Communist Party of China can just say, oh, this is your Chinese house? Oh, it's mine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it does seem like when you have something that you can trade, like you can only use so much. And of course, then if you die and you can't do anything with it, like it's definitely that value goes to zero, its worth goes to zero. But the fact that we can actually trade with it, it has like some kind of liquidity within this like fiat system. Now it is worth something.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing a lot of like selling of different stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and it's always so cool when someone's just like, "Yep, like here's a couple."
But Zuckerberg, your crap that you're selling on Facebook Marketplace has risen in value because Zuckerberg created a marketplace,
right,
where more people could become buyers.
Right.
Like your poor dude in Guatemala, he's got no title. He can't give me any piece of paper. No one's going to buy that house.
Right.
We're technically, anybody in the world could buy my house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we spice it up with the government giving you government loans, which makes liquidity even big and easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start asking yourself, why am I fighting the system so much by refusing to invest in real estate?
That is the question of this podcast, Jimmy.
We keep hammering it.
Sitting on the sidelines, wasting your.
So if the mystery of capital has finally gotten you over the edge and you want to talk to somebody on my team about getting started in real estate, where do they go, Jake?
JimmyVreeland.com/get started in real estate.
So, 25-minute podcast. Maybe it was a little clunky getting it out. Maybe I understood it a little bit. But what I've done in my career is look at the system as it was presented to me and figure out how I could do my absolute best in that system.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have a capitalist society where I can take my hard-earned labor, put it into an asset, and then go trade that asset, and the entire society accepts that I own that asset, it's a miracle. So God bless America. Start buying some assets. And if you like this show, please give us a like. Please share it. Please subscribe. Talk to you later.